Grand larceny. Flight risk. You are coming with us. The airport police officer did not ask for my ticket. He just stepped into my personal space and said it loud enough for the entire security line to hear. I did not ask who made the call because I already knew. My father knew I had exactly 40 minutes to make the flight that would save my inheritance. And he decided to turn me into a criminal to stop me. They marched me into a glass-walled holding room right off the main concourse. It was not a jail cell. It was a fishbowl. Every traveler rushing to gate B12 could see me sitting on the cold metal bench, flanked by uniforms. My mother would have died of shame. She spent 58 years curating the perfect image, and here I was, the center of a public spectacle. But I was not looking at the crowd. I was watching the digital clock on the wall. 32 minutes until the gate closed. Officer Miller walked in. He looked tired. The kind of exhaustion that comes from dealing with hysterical passengers all day. He held a tablet like a shield. "We received a credible report," he said, reading from the screen without making eye contact. "A family member states you are in possession of approximately $200,000 in estate jewelry. They claim you are fleeing the jurisdiction to sell the assets illegally." He looked up then, waiting for the panic. He was waiting for the sobbing denial, the screaming, the plea for mercy. He did not get it. "Who called?" I asked. My voice sounded flat, metallic in the small room. "Your father. Aaron." Miller watched my face closely, looking for a crack. "He said he is worried about your mental state. He told dispatch, you have been erratic since the death." Erratic. That was the key word. That was the legal trigger. My brain clicked into professional gear. I work in compliance. I spend my days hunting for the tiny, intentional errors people make when they try to hide money. I knew exactly what Aaron was doing. If he could get a police report on file today stating I was unstable and a thief, he would not just stop me from flying. He would walk into the probate court this afternoon and demand an emergency ex parte conservatorship. He did not need to prove I stole anything eventually. He just needed to prove I was not fit to manage the money today. He needed to freeze me out before the balloon payment on his massive debt came due tomorrow. I stared at the scuff marks on the linoleum floor, and suddenly I was not in the airport anymore. I was 10 years old, standing in our kitchen. I had dropped a water glass. It was a cheap thing, maybe $5 at a department store. But when it shattered, my father did not ask if I was cut. He did not tell me to stand back. He turned purple, his face twisting into a mask of pure loathing. "Do you know what you just did?" he screamed, his spit landing on my cheek. "That is money. You are just a hole in my pocket. You are a bad investment, Olivia. You cost me more than you will ever be worth." I had cried then. I had begged for forgiveness for breaking a $5 glass. I cleaned it up on my hands and knees while he watched, cutting my fingers on the shards because I was shaking so hard. But I was not 10 years old anymore. And I was not shaking. I looked up at Officer Miller. The memory of my father's screaming face did not make me want to cry. It made me want to audit him. "Officer," I said. "What time did the call come in?" Miller blinked, thrown off by the question. "About 20 minutes ago." "Why?" "And he specified diamonds?" "Yes. A black velvet pouch in your carry-on." "Okay," I said. I stood up and placed my bag on the metal table. "Then you better search it. Because if I miss this flight, my father gets control of a $1.4 million estate by default. And I think you are smart enough to know that police reports are public record." Miller hesitated. He was starting to smell the setup, but he could not stop the train now. Procedure was procedure. He reached for the zipper. I watched him. My father thought he was playing four-dimensional chess. He thought he could use my fear against me. But he forgot what I do for a living. I do not manage emotions. I manage compliance. And he had just created a paper trail that led straight to a felony. "Open the front pocket," I said. Miller unzipped it. He reached in and pulled out a black velvet pouch. It looked heavy. "That is the one," he said. "Open it." Officer Miller tipped the velvet pouch upside down. He expected the heavy clatter of loose diamonds or the dull thud of gold. He got neither. A single piece of folded paper fluttered out and landed on the metal table between us. The silence in the room stretched thin. Miller picked up the empty pouch, squeezing the lining as if the jewels might be hiding in the fabric. Then he picked up the paper. I watched his eyes scan the header. I had packed that specific pouch because I knew my father. Aaron is a creature of detail. He would not just say valuables. He would describe the exact container he had seen in my apartment weeks ago to make his lie sound credible. He wanted the police to find the pouch and think, the father was right. I wanted them to find the pouch and realize, the father was playing us. "What is this?" Miller asked. The aggression was leaking out of his voice, replaced by confusion. "That is a chain of custody receipt," I said. "Issued by Brinks Global Services 3 days ago." Miller looked at me, then back at the paper. "Read the timestamp, officer." That inventory was picked up, sealed, and transported to a secure bank vault 72 hours ago. It was witnessed by a notary and a third-party attorney. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. So unless I possess the ability to time travel, it is physically impossible for me to be fleeing the state with those assets today. Miller did not unlock the door. He did not apologize. He did exactly what a cop who realizes he might be the pawn in a felony does. He got suspicious. "Stay here," he said. He pulled his radio but then thought better of it. He took out his cell phone and dialed the number on the letterhead. He put it on speaker and set it on the table. I looked at the clock. 24 minutes until the gate closed. My father was probably at home right now, pouring a scotch, waiting for the call that I was in custody. He thought he had timed this perfectly. He thought the chaos of the airport would force the police to arrest first and investigate later. "Dispatch," a voice crackled from the phone. "Verification code? This is Officer Miller, Airport Police. I am verifying a receipt number. Zulu X-ray 49, stand by." The seconds ticked by like hammer strikes. If the courier system was down, if the dispatcher was on break, if there was any delay, I missed my flight. And if I missed the flight, Aaron got the emergency order. He wins. I dug my fingernails into my palm. "Come on, Officer Miller," the dispatcher said. "I have a confirmed drop. Sealed package contents. Estate jewelry. Delivered to Vault B at 0900 hours. Tuesday the 14th. Status is secure." Miller ended the call. The room felt suddenly larger. The threat was not in the room with us anymore. It was on the other end of the phone line that had sent him here. He looked at the empty velvet pouch, then at me. His jaw tightened. He realized he had been used as a weapon in a family dispute. "He lied," Miller said. It was not a question. "He filed a false police report to manipulate a federal flight," I corrected. "He used you to stop me from attending a court hearing." Miller stood up. He walked over to the door and punched a code into the keypad. The lock buzzed. "Grab your bag," he said. His voice was hard now, but not at me. "We are escorting you to the gate. You are going to make that plain." I stood up. My legs felt heavy, but my head was clear. I took the receipt back and folded it carefully into my pocket. It was not just a receipt anymore. It was the first brick in the cell I was building for Aaron. 2 airport police officers flanked me as we walked through the terminal. 10 minutes ago, I was a suspect. Now, I was a liability they wanted off their property as fast as possible. They parted the sea of travelers at the gate, bypassed the angry standby line, and walked me right up to the scanner. "Have a safe flight, ma'am," Miller said. He sounded like he meant it, or maybe he just wanted to make sure I was really leaving his jurisdiction before I filed a complaint. I boarded with 4 minutes to spare. I found my seat, buckled the belt, and let my head fall back against the headrest. The engine spooled up, a deep vibration that went straight through my spine. We pushed back. We taxied, and as the wheels finally left the tarmac, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I turned off airplane mode. The device convulsed in my hand. 17 text messages. 5 missed calls, all from the last 30 minutes. I did not read them immediately. I watched the notifications stack up on the lock screen, analyzing the timestamps. The first messages were confident, arrogant, even. That was when Aaron thought I was still in the interrogation room. "You did this to yourself. Do not worry about the hearing. I will handle the judge. Your father is only trying to help you. Why do you have to be so difficult? Just come home." Then, the tone shifted. That was when Miller must have called dispatch to clear the report. That was when the police likely called Aaron back to tell him his tip was false. "Pick up the phone. Olivia, you ungrateful thief. If you get on that plane, you are dead to this family." I stared at the words "dead to this family." He threw that phrase around like it was a threat. He did not realize it was a release. Most people would look at those texts and see a controlling, greedy narcissist. They would see a man who just wanted a bigger slice of the inheritance pie. But I work in risk assessment. I look at behavior and I see the leverage behind it. Aaron was not acting like a man who wanted extra cash for a boat. He was acting like a man with a gun to his head, and I knew exactly who was holding the trigger. It was not a bank. Banks send letters. Banks give you 90 days to cure a default. Aaron did not have 90 days. He had until tomorrow. 6 months ago, I found a document on his desk during a visit. It was a promissory note to a private investment firm. A hard money lender. These are the guys you go to when the banks laugh you out of the room. They charge 12% interest and require collateral that exceeds the loan value. Aaron had leveraged his own house, my childhood home, to cover bad day trading losses. The note had a balloon payment clause. $400,000, due at maturity tomorrow. If Aaron didn't leave probate court today with control of my grandfather's liquid assets, he couldn't pay. If he couldn't pay, The lender would foreclose by Friday, and his country club patriarch facade would be liquidated. His entitlement wasn't new. It went back to 1998, when I was 7. My appendix burst. He missed a buy-in meeting, and that startup later went public. For 22 years, he branded me the anchor, turning every failure into a debt I owed. In his warped logic, framing me for a felony wasn't stealing, it was collection. He forgot one thing. The world runs on paperwork, and he'd just signed his name to a lie. County probate court was wax and bad news. In courtroom 4B, my parents performed grief and filed an emergency petition for temporary conservatorship, claiming I'd been detained for felony theft and was fleeing with estate jewelry. Judge Vance's pen hovered over the ex parte order until the oak doors groaned open. I walked in, windblown and wrinkled, but not in cuffs. I set a manila envelope on the table. My father is mistaken. Exhibit A. A bank receipt confirming the jewelry was deposited into a secure vault via bonded courier 3 days ago. Exhibit B. An airport police incident card showing the report was investigated and deemed false, no arrest. The officer's direct line was on the card. The lie collapsed. I requested a mandatory forensic audit of all estate accounts going back 5 years. Judge Vance denied the petition, deemed Aaron unfit, ordered an immediate estate asset freeze, and froze Aaron's personal accounts pending the audit. 3 days later, a warrant hit for filing a false report. Perjury followed. The freeze held. Aaron missed the balloon payment. The lender foreclosed. My parents were evicted 14 days after the hearing. I later verified the diamonds in the vault, $200,000 of compressed carbon. For years, Aaron called me a cost. He was wrong. I was the auditor, and I finally balanced the books. Have you ever used someone's own rules against them to get free? Tell me in the comments.